What's up, everyone? Welcome back to the Metal Maniacs Podcast. I'm Jay Ingersoll, and I'm here with my co-host,
It's your boy Mod.
Today, you guys are going to hear a conversation with Kalamazoo Beastcore band, Drink Their Blood. So I hope you guys like the conversation, and with that, much love. Well, first things first, man. Thanks for joining us on the Metal Maniacs Podcast. I really appreciate it, fellas.
Yeah.
Thanks for having us.
Thanks for having us.
So, why don't you go around and just introduce yourself and kind of what you do, just for the audience, so they kind of know.
I'm Jeff. I'm a guitar player, do some backup vocals, and yeah, that's what I do.
Okay.
I'm Andrew. I've been relatively the newest member of the band. I've been playing guitar, like Jeff as well, since November of last year.
Right on.
I'm Drew. I play the drums. I got hired in 2020, and we've just been playing shows ever since.
Hell yeah.
And my name is Ben. I do vocals and sax.
Awesome.
All right.
Cool.
Thank you, guys.
So, I noticed you guys said that that you guys were newer, Drew.
Yeah, so there was a previous drummer beforehand, and if you were to go look up the album that's on YouTube, they have some of the previous members from before, and then currently we've been working on some new stuff, and then I've been a part of that ever since.
Okay, nice. Yeah, so Drink Their Blood, I'm assuming Jeff, Ben, that's kind of been you guys' thing, and then you're just kind of, obviously have, so the two core members, basically, is that how that kind of reads, or?
Yep.
But to be fair, I'm actually the replacement vocalist, so it really boils down to Jeff.
Oh, so Jeff fired everybody.
Yep, Jeff.
Yeah, he's like that.
The best bands.
He went around with big stack of cash and recruited us all. He's like,
Nice.
we're gonna keep going with this.
Wait, you guys are getting paid?
Yeah.
Hell yeah. Well, so obviously you guys are really hard to put a thumb on what kind of band you guys are. So obviously you're on the Metal Maniacs podcast, so there are parts of you guys that are heavy as shit. And by the way, just to let you guys know, I know you two guys aren't a member of the album that was out, but man, the album is kick-ass. So just to let you guys know, I'm not going to blow smoke up your ass. Giving it an intentional listen. I know Nick did the same thing. It's
good.
really cool, man.
So good. Yeah,
Thanks.
just real quick, for
you.
my part, I'll let you guys speak to your own music, but I just wanted to throw a few things out there that I got out of it. I'm listening to it, and the vocals kind of help define what I thought of when I was listening to it, but I heard some Neurosis, some Crowbar, and some Mastodon in there. Musically, it was a little bit different. You guys' genres on the music, the guitar playing was outside of that, but I thought vocally, I could say to anybody, if you like vocals that sound like these bands, then definitely listen to Drink Their Blood. But the style musically was a little bit more almost Bungle, Mr. Bungle, almost.
Cephalic Carnage sometimes, I feel like.
It had me.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
It had me captivated going from the heavy to the progressive stuff, and I didn't feel like it was I wrestled a bear once or something gimmicky. I felt like all those transitions were pretty natural, which is not a knock on Iwabo, but I definitely felt like when the saxophone came in, it transitioned smoothly into that, and it wasn't gimmicky. I thought it was musical, and I really enjoyed it. And it was about that third or fourth song where a lot more of those progressive elements started to become, out front. And I was enjoying it. I was like, holy shit. I was pacing. I couldn't even sit down and listen to it. I had to stand up. Literally, I was like, fuck this chair. And I rolled it right out of the fucking way. And I was walking circles in my office, just getting pumped. So yeah, I definitely loved the album. And kudos to you guys for, doing something that experimental and not just straightforward in your face blasting metal.
So with all that being said, what would you label your band as? What do you tell people you are? I mean,
I've actually got a take. I've got a take on this. It's a new one, and it's a little loose, but we'd go for malevolent jazz.
I love
Okay.
it. I love it.
It's jazz that wants to hurt you.
Oh wow,
Okay.
good.
I like that.
Yeah, that's really cool.
I know it was like sort of a tongue in cheek. We went as Beastcore for a long time, and still throw that out, and it's on shirts once in a while. But you know, I
Sorry.
just like if anyone's asking, I usually just say that we're like a progressive, technical, melodic death metal band with jazzy interludes. I don't really know what else to say about it. Like we're the throw the
That-
kitchen sink at it if we can make it work. You know.
Yeah, that makes sense. I get that.
It works for you guys.
But I mean, at our core, even though I think that all of us are music lovers of all styles, we are at our heart a metal band. Like we are most comfortable with metal shows and most comfortable. You know, I mean, we've done some mixed genre shows and they go over fairly well, for the most part. But like we are more comfortable, you know, staying within like the metal scene that we've been a part of for a while.
Okay, nice.
It's something about the metal scene that like it allows you to play with the boundaries. It's one of the few like playground areas that you can really like, okay, this wouldn't work in whatever genre, but here we're just gonna make it work, and
Yeah.
most people follow suit with it, and it's awesome.
Yeah, I think a lot of metalheads, they already know what they like in terms of metal. If you can do that part well, then you can have a little bit more fun with it by adding in some of your personal inspirations. You know, whatever, like you said, jazz. If jazz is, you know, the thing that you like to listen to outside of metal, bring it in, bring it into the songwriting process. For me, I don't play a saxophone, but I would play an acoustic guitar. I would play a folk lick in a second, and then just incorporate that into my songwriting process. So, you know, it's working for you guys naturally. And metalheads do want to hear more music than just the metal. We're not just metalheads, right? Like that's this thing that Jay and I constantly talk about. Like we listen to our metal, and even within our metal, we want there to be a little bit of breathing and musicality there. The metal itself is plenty musical.
Well,
yeah,
and
definitely.
with that being said, like, so was this a conscious, effort to keep the direction of the band like that? Just kind of like whatever you guys throw at it, is that what it is? Obviously, Jeff, you can speak onto that because you fired everybody else, but other than that,
We're following suit.
Oh no, everybody has parted ways amicably. So
Yeah,
Yeah, I
we're
know.
still
That's
actually
good.
real good
Yeah,
friends.
Yeah.
You know,
No, that's
but
cool.
if you want to like propagate the drama and be like, when you
Yeah,
post
we need
this, be
drama
like,
to sell this.
drink their blood. Guitarist fires everybody.
There's the clickbait right there.
Oh, whoa, what's this all about?
Thanks for the
But
clickbait.
yeah, I mean, like Bill Evans is one of my favorite jazz musicians, and Vince Guaraldi. So I listen to them pretty frequently. So that always gets incorporated into what I do as well. So
So you'll be writing a part from your guitar, and then you'll have a natural gut feeling that you're going to shift into a jazz segment. Like,
yep, yeah,
that's
yeah,
awesome.
exactly. Of course, so like one of my early influences for writing this stuff has been like between the Buried in Me, the Silent Circus album.
Oh God, yeah.
Yeah, so that mixed with like Morbid Angel and Through the Eyes of the Dead,
Okay.
and then some little bit of Cannibal Corpse, some Bach, all the good stuff.
Yeah, I'm with all of that.
Well, Jeff, it's interesting to me that, kind of going that way because I've obviously you and I go way back. I mean, for those who don't know, Jeff and I also play in a band together as well. So iron sharpens iron. But
Shout out.
Jeff, I knew you were when you were in Aeternal and you guys were like shred melodic death metal. Like I loved your playing in that band. I love that band because we played in that band when I was singing with Enrapture. And then I think we even played some shows when we were in Infinite Design. So coming from that, what was that decision like then, just to do something different and like not just be like total metal from beginning to end type thing, or?
Yeah, exactly. That's exactly it. And I was really into that Silent Circus album at the time. So that, and of course, like you had mentioned before, Mastodon, was listening to that on and off as well. And yeah, quite a few, a whole broad genre. But yeah, from the Eternal stuff, I tried to take as much technical aspects from that as I could, and try to incorporate that as well, just because it's fun. So I I really like challenging myself, and so I push everybody else too.
Hell yeah, that's awesome. All right, so shifting gears just a little bit, I notice on the record there's a lot of, and kudos, Ben, the vocals are badass on it, dude.
So
I
good.
love it because they're kind of all over the place. And I'm a big fan of BT Bam too, and all the aforementioned bands that we had talked about, right? But like you do an awesome job with the vocals on there. So you guys got, there's like a lot of layered vocals, and you got like a lot of different vocals. So what makes you decide what to do live, or who handles what vocal parts, and how does that work?
Well, you mentioned Mastodon and Neurosis earlier, and of course, Crowbar is always, the Crowbar has always been an influence, even when I was a guitar player when I started. So those are really spot on. Even if I don't feel like it's something that I'm necessarily trying to emulate, I can definitely understand that, because those are some of my biggest influences. So I'm flattered as well.
Cool.
But especially Mastodon and Neurosis, you have a couple different vocalists, and you have those different voices, and taking from, like, say, Blood Mountain era, I think was probably like what I was maybe closest to in terms of Mastodon for that album. And I just have like a kind of a main one that I'll have. And a lot of this is just monkeying around in the studio with Jeff. He does all the recording, and he's amazing. He always has good ideas and input, and sprinkles like the different takes that we do as kind of like ear candy, like sprinkles them through, and like kind of does the different panning and stuff.
Mhm.
A big influence on me also was the Great Southern Trendkill album, where it's just tracks and tracks and tracks of like just there's just a 30-second scream right here, and there's going to be 5 of them, and it, like, no one person can ever do it. So it was kind of like when we were going through to do it live for the last couple of years, I've been actually using a delay pedal that helps some of the call and repeat stuff. Jeff has also been doing backup vocals, and does an amazing job with it. I wouldn't want to do anything without like the main stuff. He has an amazing sense of like harmony to go along with the melodies, and also he has that really low, scary Glenn Benton kind of death metal growl, whereas I have like the scratchy witch vocals. So together we make that like rah rah rah, like.
Mhm.
But there's quite a bit of on that album. I think that every single one of us at the time recorded vocals for that.
Oh, nice.
Like there's harmonies through it that like like Judd had done, and Greg did some vocal parts on it. So I mean, it was literally all over the place. And what I kind of try to do live is, instead of like maybe necessarily going for all over the place, just because the live setting can kind of minimize your dynamics on a microphone unless you have a very, very active sound person. Like, you can't really go from whispers to roars. So I feel like I've kind of found maybe a happy medium that's still the voice that I can do, but like projecting it more, like from like a musical theater kind of style, and that's just sort of the voice that comes out. And so like that's usually the one that I'll do live.
Okay.
But yeah, like in terms of like the different parts and stuff, I rely a lot live on Jeff for backup vocals, honestly, because he does a really good job with layering stuff and helps a lot with the call response kind of stuff too.
Okay, so Jeff, you're the only other one that does backup vocals then?
At the moment, yeah.
Okay.
But anybody's welcome if they want to jump in. But
Nice. Hell yeah.
Yeah, I think that the vocals turned out really great on the album, and I think it's cool that you guys, you're doing them live. They're not a backing track being pumped in, right? So, and I think for listeners of, actual musicians performing live, it's refreshing to know that you guys are doing it a little bit differently live, just because, well, for one, like you said, microphone dynamics. What can you capture live on stage? That's going to sound good. I think that when I go and see a band, I want to know that they're not going to sound like the album. I want them to sound a little bit different and even better, maybe some improv or just, oh, that's not how it is on the album, but that caught my attention because, you know, he took it different there. He went a different way that's not on the album just for the sake of the live performance. So I think if people don't go to the club to dance, but go to the show to watch the bands, like that's refreshing to know.
Yeah, I absolutely agree with that. And, you know, and now that I'm thinking of it, that we're, you know, like part of the writing process is, you know, I don't just start with words. I'm not like, I don't have books of poetry. I usually respond to riffs in terms of syllables because, they have a tendency to throw jagged things my way. So, you know, for me to let go and write haikus is probably not going to fit into Drink Their Blood without heavy editing. And I don't want to just like make it work to fit. So I will get their stuff. And like, I actually have right now 4 different tracks that's just, and then like, I'll come back and put the words in like with like a thesaurus and stuff later. But the process to get to the recording, I have walked that path like into the ground. So there's still words that I'm changing around because when I can finally like sit down and like really dissect what I just said, it's like, I don't know that was always something that I loved. It was something that we're like, oh, we're going to do the song live. I guess that fits for now. So there's like the opportunity to kind of fine tune and edit some of the lyrics and stuff, but I have a really good understanding, I feel like, when we go into recording of like what it would almost be like live, like because we're doing it live in the practice space or whatever. And then it's like, honestly, with the recording process is just the pieces come back on. You know, there's like different songs that I'll listen to, like Hatebreed will do a lot of like solid one takes where it's almost like a call and response where they bleed over a little bit. I like that too. Like you can't physically do that live. Like, you know, you're not going to say 2 words at once. It doesn't happen, but you know, it's really powerful recorded. And you know, I feel like being able to have Jeff is like such a inventive, imaginative, and compassionate engineer, like kind of fosters that for me. Like there's never like, oh my God, you're taking forever. It's like, hey, can we throw one more track on there? And I'm just going to make monster noises. And he's like, oh yeah. You know, so,
that always helps, you know, being comfortable and being able to try new things. That's always very important in any musical endeavor, you know? So it's nice that you got Jeff, you know, of course, a man of many talents, and, you know, other guys around you that let you have the liberty to want to try what you want to try, you know? So you talked a little bit about, you know, writing. What does that process look like? I know you guys kind of had mentioned who, you know, or what, but like, especially now, I know you guys are writing stuff right now, but just tell me what that process looks like. We get together, we jam, Jeff's got some riffs, and then we throw, and then we say, nah, that's okay, or we're trying all different stuff, or what does that look like?
Yeah, let me piggyback on his question real quick too before you jump in, Drew. Jeff, do you have like lyrical ideas that you say, I'm not going to write the lyrics, but I want this song to be about this topic? Or do you just hand it off to Ben and say, write whatever you want? I really don't care. I did my part, you know, and I did the part that I care the most about. Now it's off to you.
Usually for me, it's maybe like a vocal pattern to go along with the guitar riff, but usually that's all Ben's wheelhouse as far as writing the lyrics.
Okay.
I might throw in some ideas here and there if he asks, but that's about it for vocal input. Yeah, that's all Ben for sure.
Sweet. Drew, you look like you're gearing up. Yeah, there you go.
Yeah, I can jump in on this because, I mean, since I'm the drummer, I have to hit the metronome and then everybody plays. So usually for practicing, it's, you know, we start off with the set list and we always try and hit it at least once when we show up because, you know, it's got to stay clean. And then, you know, we have plenty of time in between. So usually we'll just screw off in between songs, and either it'll come from inspiration that, you know, we were listening to over the last week, or maybe we just goofed around on the outro of the last song and that was a weird idea, so then we like expand off of it, and then it's that kind of process where we never really know what we're going to get when we get to practice. But when we find something that we think was worth our effort, we'll visit it for about, I don't know, half an hour. Maybe we'll record it just to make sure that we can keep it. And then we'll go back to writing or practicing the steps.
So you guys are basically sandwiching your songwriting around your set list, keeping the set clean, take a break, come back.
Like
Right.
the goal is to keep the set tight. We try to do it as close to, like a live setting as we can.
A rehearsal.
Particularly for me, because the older I get, like to jump up and down in place and make werewolf noises for half an hour gets more difficult. And so like for me to do a song and then we BS for 10 minutes and then I catch my breath and I'm no longer sweaty and I'm like, let's go again. The next show I go to, and by song 3, I'm sucking wind. Oh my God.
Yeah.
So it's definitely helped keep me conditioned to do it too that way. I think that we're not opposed to taking a break if something's just falling out though. And I have a bunch of clips on my phone of just being in here while they're noodling on stuff. I'm we're going to use that later. Oh man. So you want to make sure also that you don't discourage that. I think it was the singer of Queens of the Stone Age that talked about inspiration. And if you don't listen to it, it stops talking. You know what I mean? So
Yeah.
it is
Right.
important to keep receptive to that, I think.
Okay. So, go ahead, man.
One nice thing that since playing with these guys in November is the use of Guitar Pro that we implement in kind of our songwriting process, as well as retaining ideas. Because I know Drew and I come from other bands where we really embrace the jamming, kind of jamming out riffs and playing off each other's styles. But then Jeff is a little more of a visual learner, and if we can translate that as soon as possible into a Guitar Pro riff, it makes it a little more visual, a little easier to add different aspects to the songwriting process. Take a step back and say, hey, we've got it mapped out here, but what if we sprinkle in something here over the top, like saxophone or a different pattern in the guitar?
Right.
Exactly.
Usually the key piece for that is if I can get the muscle memory down for a drum part, because I never like playing anything that's super, super straightforward. It's I guess it's a high horse thing or a standard for myself, but it's if I could play it within the first year or two of picking up the drums, I kind of shy away from it. So it's being able to get that muscle memory down so that once we know it can stick and it's something that we really enjoy, then we can translate that over afterwards, really, shape it up in the Guitar Pro. And then from there, that's how we can translate it into a live setting. And that's basically the process.
Okay. So we're doing some jamming. We're doing some Guitar Pro. You guys have riffs too that you're working on outside of there, and then you bring to the. So you got some shit that you're jamming in between too. Is that so? You're kind of using all methods. Is that what I'm hearing?
Essentially.
Yep.
Cover all our grounds.
Nice.
When we get closer to a show, we tighten it up, and instead of playing around in between the songs, we'll just do, okay, it's a set list, do it 35 minutes, go. But if we've got time in between, definitely let the inspiration flow.
Hell yeah. Nice. I think that fits great with a band like you guys too, because you have no boundaries. There's not a specific outcome you're looking for. So being able to just get in the mode of whatever works really sounds awesome.
Yeah, I mean, on behalf of the new guys, because it was at one point me and Jeff, and then Andrew came along, and then we lost our bass player. So we got not only a bass player, but a second guitar player. And then we actually, first show back out of pandemic, we rolled with that lineup for a little while. And our second guitar player decided to step down. And then we got Andrew. And it's the addition of new drums, new bass, new guitar has done things, in my opinion, a positive way to like our sound, and just added more options and more layers to what we are able to do now. And just like the styles that the guys have brought in are different from the guitar players and the bass players and the drummers previously. So, we still want them to come in and still have their own voice without being, like a Drink Their Blood cover band pretty much.
Right. Yeah.
And so what I'm liking right now, because essentially what we're recording is our set list now.
Awesome.
It's a couple songs that we've done on the previous album, but with the new members, they don't sound exactly the same. And plus, I love that album. Absolutely love that album. And I don't mean this underhanded. I just mean it as a compliment to his abilities now. But the things that Jeff is cranking out of here at Red Obsidian now are ridiculous. And to have that kind of treatment with like the Jeff version 8.0, like recording, like it's sounding freaking amazing already. And we're still working through the instrumental parts on it and some vocal stuff still. I'm excited for what's coming after this, because just having the Andrew machine like noodling around together, because they are the ones who want to hang out and do the jamming together, and Brad too is just one of those weird guys that can just like look at what you're doing and
dude, like Brad sticks to me so good whenever we're playing. Like I'll be playing random stuff and Brad will just be like, "Oh, that's a walk," and he'll just like he'll walk all over it, and then we'll get into something jagged, and he'll bounce with me, and I don't have to say a word to him, and he knows what to do, and it's awesome.
Hell yeah! So
I feel like there's with progressive metal bands, there's oftentimes I don't think that there's any in necessarily our scene, but maybe like on like the national level, where I feel like the bass players are in the mix to shred along strictly with the guitars. They're competing with guitars. That's what they're there for.
Yeah, they're not just the background layer.
I think Brad is capable and does do that. But I think that these two guys locked in is like more of a solid rhythm section, like apparatus now, and having the two guitar players work together is just it's everything. I feel like is a change for the better, but it's fun to write with them for sure.
Ben, are you already excited for the next album after what you're working on? Is that what I'm hearing? You're not only just excited about what you're working on that we haven't heard yet, you're excited for the next thing that you haven't even created yet.
Yeah,
yes. It's I think it's the opportunity and the ability. Like everyone here knows that, like, I don't think there's going to be an idea that's going to outright get shot down.
Right.
If they say, I want to try and do blank, no one's going to say no. Right. It's going to be like, let's see what it sounds like. So just the different styles that we have from each individual member, and the way that everyone speaks together in the room while they're writing and playing together. Like just the noodling and jamming around stuff, I've heard things that are way heavier than what we've released, but there's also weird like cloud kickery, I'm trying to think of the band. Like Inner Arma, like weird stuff in there that's happening. Intronaut kind of spacey, noodly stuff. So I mean, it's like the songs that we're recording right now are a couple of songs that we wrote when I started with Drink Their Blood like 9 years ago. But we've done changes to them and added some alterations to them, and now we have new members. So that's why we thought it would be like a good idea. This is like kind of like, in my mind, this is when Nine Inch Nails released the Broken EP, where Pretty Hate Machine came out, but he's been doing it with the live band. And he's like, you know what? No, this is what we sound like right now. So this is like us saying, here's our set. Because I mean, that's what we've been playing out for like 2 years. And it'll be like, that'll be our recording before we like move on completely to new ground. So I'm excited for this to get out because I want to hear it. And it's kind of like another step for us. It's like, okay, now we have that out and done. It'll allow us to focus on doing new weird stuff.
Nice. So the new blood to drink in the band, for lack of better terms, huh?
It's pretty close.
Yeah, nice. So 2 Andrews in the band?
Yep.
Yep.
Yeah.
You're like, hey, Andrew, what? No, Andrew. Do you guys go by a different name, or one go by Drew, one go by Andrew, or?
Yeah, I've been going by Drew for the last decade, probably.
Okay, cool. So,
And I think we just call Andrew Graham most of the time.
okay,
Yep.
okay. So Graham and Drew, that makes sense.
Yep.
Yeah. How do you deal with 2 Andrews? Don't call either one of them Andrew.
Yeah, that's
Problem
exactly how you
solved.
do it. So,
There's just something weird about saying your own name.
right. Well, so I noticed, the album that's out, it came out in 2019. So it's been that long because you guys, since you've released anything, just because of all the member shifts and those kind of situations. I mean, hey, I know how it goes. I've been playing in bands for more years than I would like to even admit. So I get it. But
Yeah, when Greg decided to step down, we did a final farewell show for him. We knew that it was like just kind of a distance thing grinding on him, and he gave us tons of warning and agreed to finish out the shows. Wanted one more like farewell one, and we were like, okay, yeah, of course, but also knowing that like. All right, good luck finding a drummer in Michigan, period, that doesn't have like 6 bands or like some kind of like crazy neuroses. But, it's like that was like a really big task for us. We got Andrew and he was like amazing right from the start. And Jeff, Judd, and I kind of said, like we think that he's clearly the front runner because, I mean, no one can do the kind of stuff he was doing when they'd come for tryouts. Right. But we were also like, when we said we were looking for a drummer, all of a sudden we had like 4 different people that wanted to try. So we thought it would be a disservice to not at least hear them because we'd never been in a situation where we had someone to pick from. It was like, usually like, hey man, you want to leave your band and come jam on Thursday with us, please? Like, like this time it was like, hey, yeah, I'm not doing anything. I got drums in my car right now. Like, that's weird. Okay, yeah, come on over. Yeah. But like, just through like, and, throw the global pandemic into the mix, it was like, he sat on the sidelines and waited and was so freaking awesome about it. And when he finally came in, very shortly after, our bass player stepped down. So now we had to go through and get a bass player up to speed too. And, when we got our second guitar player, Cam, they came in and like actually wrote a song and kind of like really worked closely with Jeff on a lot of the lead harmony stuff that was recorded by Jeff on the album that we were not doing live, which was sweet. And then when Cam decided that it was time for them to step down, we were like, well, we're not going to not have 2 guitar players, but where are you going to find another like wizard kid, because I mean, Jeff had given them lessons since 12, 13.
Yeah, this was my nephew. So,
I mean, like molded into a mini harmony playing, rhythm playing Jeff.
Yeah.
Taught to be, Right. So where are you going to find one?
And then I was mountain biking with Graham at the time. So, and Graham was like, hey, I hear you're looking for a guitar player. Mind if I try out? I was like, yeah, of course. Come on, step in.
Yeah. And I was a big fan of Dread Return, his other band. And, they're coming back soon. It sounds like, yeah, hopefully. But yeah, I mean, like, it was like, yeah, I think that he's an awesome guy. I have never really like talked to him more than like outside of shows or whatever. It's always been like cordial and stuff. And he just showed up and like completely knocked it out of the park. And the way that Jeff and he communicate between each other musically, I think works really well to their advantage. Like they have different styles, but still work them together. And it's still within like the technical, wheelhouse. So even though I can tell the difference between them from like their tone and like their picking styles, they're like the twin guitar attack. And it's nice that they can be so like, communicative with each other, I guess, and complement each other so well. It's not like like, oh yeah, we just hired Slash, and like Jeff's just like now just playing like open G and D chords because it's like, nope, hey, I got this, bud. like they're able to like work together, you know, and it's become like a really strong collaboration very quickly, like you said, like November, and just kind of like, we've been really lucky that we've had a lot of shows and a lot of really cool shows. So it's like, hey, so yeah, you're in Drink Their Blood. All right, we got a show next week. He's like, okay,
yeah,
and crushed it. You know what I mean? Like he's awesome.
I think chemistry between band members speaks more to the band being good versus their musicianship. I think you can have a lower skill ceiling on your musicianship, perhaps, but if your communication between each other is tight and you guys like hanging out together and the chemistry is good and the writing is where you like in the more the style you want than say the tenacity of the musicianship, then that will reflect when you guys perform live. Just the fact that you like each other and you know there is always that communication going on during the songwriting process at practice, and there isn't, like you said, like a headbutting or a dick measuring. You know, everybody just seems to be really on the same page with what's best for the song and the music.
Yeah, I was gonna say is practice in this band is definitely like we're all aware that everybody's had an experience where ego has gotten in the way of a good idea that could have been a good song.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? And it's just being able to work with each other and understand that, you know, it's a collaboration, and every idea, at least, it should have a chance to be heard. You know, like feel the vibration in the room, make a check on it, and if it doesn't fit, then you just move on, and at least you looked at it. And I think that's been a really good thing about it.
And I think any more these days, and I don't know, you know, like ages of y'all, and it doesn't really matter, but I think the longer, you know, like Ben said he's been in the band for 9 years, so that gives me an idea, right? So when you're in a band and you're like putting all of this energy in every week, all the time, like the people that you're going to hang out with, they got to be cool as fuck. Otherwise, like, don't waste my time. Like, it's such a hassle if you got to go to a band practice and argue with a member and just be like, you know, I wish we could replace them. Like that be like that sit in your stomach and between your ears. Like, man, I wish we could replace them. They're kind of a dick. Like,
I wish we did in a van with them for 2 hours to Lansing or whatever. And
And when you got a good chemistry and everybody just they're like friends and they agree with what they're doing, it just not only makes it worth the time, effort, and energy, but it just puts you on another level. Like, oh, I got this thing that I do. It's not just a hobby that I do by myself. It's not building a Lego structure. You know, it's teamwork. It's a collaboration. It's a project. It's actual use of my time with someone else's time to get a result that otherwise you wouldn't get alone. If Jeff sat in his studio and wrote a Drink Their Blood album by himself, I don't think it would be anywhere near as good as the product, you know, involving the other members. And that's because y'all have, you know, it sounds like y'all just love hanging out together and writing music together, and that's the long and short of it. And the proof will be in the pudding.
You know, oh yeah, go ahead. Sorry.
Oh, I had one more thing to throw into that. Speaking of Ben being in the band for 9 years, this morning on the my Facebook throwbacks, 10 years ago, it was a flyer with Drink Their Blood, an infinite design at Shakespeare's Lower Level. 10 years ago.
Dude, I was at that show. You know what? I didn't see Drink Their Blood. I'd heard about them. I've been a fan of Jeff because Eighth Chakra had played a couple times with A Eternal, you know, back when dinosaurs ruled the earth. So, I mean, Jeff is just like, if you want to talk about optimism in a jar, like Jeff, like there's nothing that he will not attempt. There's nothing that he will say he can't do. You know what I mean? Like, and he's just always had that reputation as a good guy. He's not one of those guys, you know, there's people in the scene that you'll have reputations like, oh, it's kind of a brick when he's drinking, or that guy steals merch money, you know, like, it's like, no, anytime you'd ask anyone about Jeff, they're like, oh yeah, man, he's like a daycare sitter. He's amazing. It's great. He's fantastic. He's like the nicest person you've ever met.
Well, he's been smiling the whole time.
Yeah, look. And so, like, that's his frown. Yeah.
Yeah, he's pissed right now.
Wait till he gets mad. Wait till he gets really happy.
He's so
like
mad.
when I went down to actually went to Shakespeare's For Infinite Design to see Larry, and then Jeff's there. I'm like, oh shit. Like, hey, and he's like, yeah, my band Drink Their Blood's playing, and it was freaking Judson from Of Gods and Wolves, who I'm like, shit, man, these guys have a metal band. And I'll never forget, like, Greg was wearing like these like gun muff ear things and like a dad professor sweater vest and a white turtleneck. I was like, what the fuck what are they doing? And when he came out and it just was like, like artillery coming out, I'm like, okay, I'm invested. And I watched him and I just was like completely annihilated. And I went home and told my partner Jenny, I'm like, I'm not wishing any ill will on Drink Their Blood, but I swear to you, if anything goes south with that vocalist, that's the kind of band I want to be in.
Hell yeah.
They're like, they were smooth and jazzy and beautiful and jagged and meshuggah and terrifying. And it was like all within a 25-minute set. It was like a roller coaster. And I was like, yeah, everyone else is trying to out heavy everyone. I've definitely been in a band where, you be like the scariest in town, even though we didn't pull it off at all at the time. But like the mindset that you have in a band like that, which is it tends to be over serious. It feels like sometimes. It did for me anyway, where it was like, oh man, no, that's not tough enough. But I was also, considerably younger. Like you said, like we are getting older. I turned 45 this year. Drink Their Blood is my 4th or 5th band. I've been in bands for like a while. So I've kind of developed like a personal checklist of things I love about bands, things I really don't like about bands. And so, one of the biggest problems I think could be boiled down to personnel. Like you do think about egos and stuff. And as like a guitar player first, I didn't really come into it with like a vocalist ego. I still think of myself as like a guitar player first. So, I don't like come in all David Lee Roth. I will say that the reduction in equipment is amazing. And if you have any doubts about trying out to be a vocalist, you should absolutely go for it. It's not like, hey guys, I need you to carry my throne up to the stage while I'm eating shrimp, or no bullshit like that. It's like cool because we're all like sort of like a book club. I would say gang, but we're not dangerous at all. So we're like, like a book club or like a bug study group. You know what I mean? Nice. Like I do genuinely love hanging out with these guys, and in the regular grind of corporate world and the day-to-day of everyday life, it's nice to have like the Boy Scout clique to go every once a week and go make some scary noises, and everyone feels good and sweaty at the end. And it's I wouldn't go as far as to say like therapy, but it is therapeutic for me to like get that out.
Ideally, if the band is good, right? Like if the members are all in agreement with it being somewhat therapeutic and not being, again, like some sort of contest or a competitive spirit. I mean, you want to crank out good music and you want your riff to resonate with everyone else when you're performing it. But yeah, to at least walk into a room and be on the same page, be on the same team, and work toward the same goal. That keeps it going. That keeps it fresh. That's why Ben can sit there on the couch after 9 years and say, already looking forward to the next album. We're not even done with this one. Like that just tells me, Drink Their Blood is going to be a band that could be around, getting a lot of attention in the next couple of years, just because of the spirit that lives in this interview in this room right now.
Well, Drew, I noticed you wanted to say something, but I do want to talk on that show, because I remember that was kind of the first time that I ran into Jeff again after the shows we played when you were in Eternal and everything. And Nick, did you play that show with us? Were you playing bass in Infinite Design at that time? Did you play at the lower level at Shakespeare's?
Unless you guys played there more than once.
We only played there once.
Yeah, I was there for that one. That was with Nate on guitar, I believe.
Hell yeah, that was a good time. And
it was a great show for me.
That just goes to show like how far back. I mean, that was 10 years as it is. And then like here we are now, and that's another reason why I love being in the band that Jeff and I are in together, because he is just a cool, happy dude, and like he's like we're kind of both. I mean, Jeff's a Jedi, he's a fucking videographer. He can color between the lines all the time. Like he knows all
He's
kinds
an
of
incredible mechanic and engineer. Like,
Yeah.
I won't reveal the secrets behind Hostetler Mansion over here. But if you guys knew like the robotic experiments that this guy does for fun,
Oh my
like
God.
I don't know, like I would say a genuine Renaissance man. Like
Yeah, Jedi.
Kalamazoo, he's Kalamazoo's Da Vinci.
Yeah, he's
It's
Jedi.
just really
That's him.
fun.
That's him.
I'll come over and I'll just be, it's something random. I'll be like, hey, Jeff, do you have? And he'll be like, yeah.
Let me go get it.
Hold on, I'm iodizing this titanium Geramino.
But what were you
We'll have
gonna?
to-
I know
you'd have to
Drew,
tell
you
you the
wanted to say
lab for that.
something.
I'll have to loop it. I'll see if I can like keep it together. It's a bit loose, but it was about bands that are always in a competition with each other. Always being like, oh, I want to be the scariest band in the city. It's a weird little box it puts yourself in.
Right.
And you think it's the most impressive thing that it can be, but you don't understand how small the box can be.
Right.
So it's trying to work outside of that. It contradicts what I said earlier, where it's still something that I struggle with because I don't want to play simplistic drums. If I felt like I could do it early on in learning, I feel like, why am I doing that if I could do something better? But there is something to be said for rolling it back for just a second. Like, the drums don't have to go a million miles an hour, and it doesn't have to be a polyrhythm. Just open it up. Actually, screw it. Don't play the drums for a second. For the first time ever, in this band, we run off of a click track. Like that's the only automated thing that we have for our live setup is that I've got the headphones on and it's got a Guitar Pro track that just plays the click and the metronome.
Nice.
And we run off of that. But if we didn't have that in place and I had never picked that up from being in this project, you can't do things where, okay, the drums just disappeared and now it's solo saxophone being harmonized with a guitar doing open ambient chords. You know what I mean? And like without that on the back end, you lose where you are. How do you know where the one is? How do you get everybody to jump back on place when it's supposed to go back on place? So it's now that we have those capabilities, being willing to dial it back just as much as we push it forward. So it's hitting every side that we can.
Yeah. Jay and I often say the phrase these days, less is more.
And it's weird how it becomes true.
Yeah, because you can establish more impact when you do dial it back. If you're always going 100 miles an hour, then there's really no peaks and valleys to it, right? Even if you are genre hopping, I think not only do you do that, but you also have to, one guy's got to stop and one guy's got to shine, just for a moment, and then you can all come into the riff together. So sometimes, you gotta drop out. You gotta know that.
Yeah, that kind of I really think that that's what I'm digging most about, like some of the heavier stuff that they're crafting right now. It is like something chugging, dun, 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 like to keep it going, and then some dun 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 dun. You know what I mean? Like back into it, then everything. So it's like kind of having it with like our dynamics instead of like turning down the volume would be like to turn down the I guess turn down the everything.
Yeah, the
so
intensity
like
and
yeah, absolutely. So when it does hit back in, it instead of like just being clobbering, it's like it gives you a second to. Because I mean, realistically, like I really love like technical metal stuff for sure. I don't want it to sound like that I'm not gonna like at all, but we're just not like at the point where we're trying to be like the fastest band in Southwest Michigan anymore, so it's not like
there's already a band for that.
Yeah. There's already bands.
There's already a better one.
Yeah.
Like
I'm not playing that fast. I don't use triggers. I don't want to go that fast. Playing the drums is tiring. It's enjoyable but tiring. So let them do it.
like I think that there's definitely like moments where we do like approach it, but we're not just trying to be four on the floor like all the way through, and some of it is nice to have that break like audibly and physically when you're doing sets and stuff, but also for like what you guys were saying, I want to try, like the challenge is to make the pieces all like flow together, and that's where a lot of the fun is for me, is like that's a cool part, ooh, that's a cool part, make them work together, like that would never go, like, oh,
but it can,
like, oh, there we go, like when it works and like that reveal happens, because I'm a big fan of like Dillinger, and so like Dillinger Escape Plan is really famous for itsy bitsy broken jagged like scary guitars, and like sometimes too abrasive. But I feel like, there's that what they're working on right now is still like kind of, I don't really know. Like it's a progression in terms of like the heavy stuff that we've put out. And it's definitely stompier, and it's going to be fun to work on that for sure.
I'll just say this in between because it's an interesting point. I like explaining this, but it's like it's about dialing it back for just a second. And if you've got something that's going really, really fast, high intensity, ambient tremolo picking, and then you suddenly go to dead silence just for one or two counts, you know what I mean? That creates this vacuum effect that means any note that you play after that silence is going to hit so much harder than if you would have just played that note without it. And like, it's being aware of that kind of stuff. Like everybody's a sucker for it. And so am I. It sounds and it feels amazing. It's playing with.
I love the idea of actual literal silence for a moment.
Like, silence is music. Like,
it's so weird.
Equally as useful as it isn't.
It's so weird because it's such a small moment, right? Like if you pause all music for just like a count, right? You're like, was that actual silence in there? Did something from outside the car make its way in? Did I actually experience a true moment of silence? Like, because you can suck all sound out of the recording in the studio, right? You can just complete vacuum there. And so if you're just listening to something in your car in your headphones and then it stops for a count or two, but just short enough to where like your brain can't even process anything else going in. You're like, it's really cool to experience a moment of silence. You're like, there it was. It was a genuine moment of silence. It has a really cool impact on you, especially musically. When that next note comes in, it just levels you.
It's just the fact that like if it's been going on long enough, at least maybe like 20 seconds of just relentless vibration coming from the bass and the guitars and the distortion or whatever, and then you just suddenly remove it. Your body got used to that being there.
Right.
So once it's gone, it's like you sucked all the air out of the room. And then when the note comes back in, it just hits so much harder. Yeah. And it's like those little tips and tricks. That's the stuff that makes it so fun and like interesting, because you can do that with more than just, having everybody stop. You can do that with layering people, going from one guitar to the next and like using things in that sort of way. It's all about dynamics.
Yeah, I mean, that's one thing that I've learned throughout my journey too. Like probably back 10 years ago when you seen Infinite Design, that was probably one of our main goals, was just to fucking crush as fast and as heavy as possible, because that was, and leave nobody in the wake, because we just, we always played just a titch above what we could play. I mean, sweeps, fucking grind, one-handers, whatever you're talking about, it's in your face, bass tapping. I mean, that was our goal. But then as I grow older, it's more about the song for me. Like, I want to hear good songs. Like, I don't want to hear a bunch of riff soup. I don't want to hear like one part after another, which I know that's kind of what you guys do. You might have some callbacks, but
there were some callbacks.
But I like the way you guys do it, because the way you go from one part to the next, it keeps me locked in. There's bands that can just play one riff and another riff and keep tacking riffs on, but it all kind of sounds the same. There's no dynamics like you're speaking of. So if you're using the dynamics, it gives me something to grasp onto that keeps it interesting. But as I get older, I don't want to hear like just the constant vocals for 4 minutes over every riff. I don't want to hear like riff soup. Like, some bands can do that and it's okay, but for me, I got to hear a good song. I got to hear a chorus, Yeah, I got to hear a chorus. I got to hear something that's like melodic. I got to hear something that you play twice because cool, you can come up with 52 ideas and tack them together, but like can you come up with a cool enough idea that warrants you to bring it back again? But that's my own personal taste, but like that just goes off the conversation that we're having where sometimes you got to stop. Sometimes you can't just be relentless the whole time because you're not always going to be the fastest, heaviest band. You just can't do it. Like why even try? Just do what's good to you and what feels good to you and your bandmates and what you guys want to be creative with, you know? And with that being said, I do want to get wrapped up here pretty soon, but obviously the question that always is probably on everybody's mind that when they see you guys play, man, you bust out the saxophone. And I love how you guys use it too, because you do break it down, you let it shine, you guys really draw it back and say, okay, this is the part for the saxophone. You guys aren't trying to like be all fancy behind him. You guys are trying to like lay this foundation for which he can work. And I really love that about the record that's out now. And I'm sure you guys have more stuff that's like that. But where did that come in? Because you're like, hey, I can play, or hey, I want to sing for your band, but oh, check this instrument out I have. Like, I can play this too. Like, that's not a very common thing. That definitely sets you guys apart because there are other progressive bands that may break it down into an acoustic part or, you know what I mean, and a metal part. But like, you guys have that added layer of that saxophone that really, you know, a lot of people, if they say, hey, drink their blood, oh, the dude plays saxophone. I mean, that's almost, I don't want to say it's a gimmick, but it is one of those things where it's like, that's one thing that sticks out, you know, compared to many other bands, you know?
Yeah, I will be the first to admit that it's our gimmick. You know, it's our guar penis, it's our Kiss makeup. But hopefully we're not just using it like as like, hey, guess what? In the middle of this one song, I'm going to play 3 notes and then put it away. You know, like we still want
seem tactile. Yeah.
We still want it to be like integrated into the song and have a purpose while it's there, you know. I think for me, like, I'll be honest, I really appreciate you guys saying good things about the vocals on the album.
Mm-hmm.
The guy that I replaced was a fantastic vocalist. I mean, like a singer. Like, I was surprised that he took on a metal band and had such an impressive roar, and it laid. Like, his cleans were always respected in town. So when it came time for Drink Their Blood, I thought, yeah, the heavy stuff, like, no sweat, but the vocal stuff, like, he's going off on sounds like some Les Mis style stuff here, and I'm like, there's no way. So you know, when we were jamming in the garage, like, it's like, you know, like I'd been in a ska band for a year. So my old rusty saxophone was just in the car. And I was thinking to myself, like, I know there was this one part of the song where they would like read pieces of a Bible or a book or something. And it's just not something that I wanted to recreate, like, not being a diva or nothing, but like, it was always difficult to hear that part, like, because it was always while like the band was playing something like beautiful, and then he was singing beautiful over it.
Right.
So it was like, well, I can't really do the singing, and I don't really want to do the reading. So could I offer up a sax? And they're like, yeah, I guess let's see how it goes. And we brought it out, and like, I just remember feeling like we played that slow part for like a half an hour. And it was like, when we got done, it was like, oh yeah, that sounded great. You want to keep doing that? Like, oh, okay, sure. So then, like, the cool thing about it is the tenor sax works pretty well with like the voicing on a guitar. So the next thing I came about was like the harmony runs like in Bane of Blackness, which is not on the album. It's still guitars only on the album, right? We started to incorporate live, doing a 3-way harmony with 2 guitars and the saxophone. And I think Brad does it by the end one time too, doesn't he? I don't remember. But yeah, we were like incorporating like 2 and 3 part harmonies with it, like in leads, like, you know, Iron Maiden or Scorpion style leads, and some of the newer stuff we're working on too. We do throw out a cover of Boys Are Back in Town with Thin Lizzy, and we'll do like a 3 or 4 part harmony with sax in it there too. Really, it was sort of an accident, not intentional. I just played sax from 6th to 12th grade and sort of gave it up to be the next Pantera. And when that didn't work out, I joined a ska band, and you know, I realized I could still kind of play it. And then I'm telling you, Drink Their Blood was like boot camp though, because I was like, you know, being in the ska band was a lot of fun, but it was like pep
it was like a pep rally kind of, like I didn't really sing a lot in it. So it was like kind of waiting for my part. And when my part would come, it was pretty simple. And then it would be over for the rest of the song. So like having to do like minutes parts or like matching what another instrument's doing was like a whole nother challenge for me. And this is my, fourth saxophone now. Like I just like kind of kept trying to upgrade to get to where I wanted. And, it's really, really tightened up. Like I'm better at it now, of course, than I ever was in high school. And that was playing it 5 times a week and stuff. They just like beat me into being tight with it. But it's also like they were still able to keep the diversity of sounds and styles. And I didn't feel like I was going to like, dead goose Nickelback over these freaking incredible jazzy weird riffs that they've been coming up with. And now, like with the newer stuff that they've been coming up with, the just crazy gorgeous weird time signature instrumentals. I think it kind of goes from like jazz to fusion sometimes, and even has like some of like the more modern technical death kind of sound to it. There's going to be all kinds of room for either individual parts or like, does that mean the timer's done?
No, it's just a message.
Oh, gotcha. It's going to be like, individual parts are being able to do the lead parts again. And we're actively working towards that. But, it's worked out well for us. It's really fun for me. I will be the first to admit, though, that it does set us apart because, if people don't know who we are, when we send them like the bio, they're like, oh, you guys are the sax band. Like, yep, we are the sax band.
Yeah,
so like that, it's also kind of given us opportunity to play in weird places that in the bands I've been in up from like 98 until Drink Their Blood. It's given us like weird opportunities to play places like Grand Rapids Art Festival, like
Yeah.
Eighth Chakra never would have played that, like, and it's just like we get offered to like maybe do more of like some of like the weird all ages shows, and it's just nice to be like part of the scene and still like accepted and appreciated for being like kind of like some of the area weirdos. And I feel like it kind of attracts some of the area weirdos, which is awesome. Like Cavalcades and Mouthful of Locust and one with the Riverbeds and Lucius Foxes, all from around here. Like the weirdos are all like, we all stick together, and it's cool. That there's not like, oh, you guys aren't heavy enough. It's like, yeah, let's do a weird show. Like, all right.
Your style is good for Kalamazoo because Kalamazoo is quite a melting pot, probably one of the biggest melting pot towns in Michigan. I don't know that that's the phrase that we use anymore, but college towns, a lot of variety, right? So it's a good place to be metal and also jazzy, right? So real quick, Jay, how much time do you think we have?
I want to wrap this up within 10 minutes at least.
So I have a quick question for Jeff, and then we'll bounce to you fading us out. Jeff, do you feel like with Ben's saxophone playing that you could see yourself taking Drink Their Blood and stripping it all the way down to something like a tiny desk or something not metal? Do you think there's any capability for you to like take your Drink Their Blood project and strip it down, all based because what Ben's bringing with the saxophone? Do you think there's some capacity, like Opeth did Damnation and Deliverance, right? They come out together. They go well together, but one of them is one thing and one of them is another. Do you think that you would foray into something that wild?
I never really thought about it that much, but that is a very good idea. Perhaps we can work towards something
You're
like that.
talking like a side A, side B, like polar opposite type deal.
Almost, yeah. I mean, it would still be like everything that you guys do, just probably minus that aggressive intensity that would basically make up the metal element of Drink Their Blood. It would be like Drink Their Wine.
Yeah, exactly.
That'd be interesting.
Grapes.
It would be interesting.
Well,
But yeah, I mean that is always a very good possibility to do as well. So
I think the musicianship's there too, where you guys would be able to do it, and your fans wouldn't even bat an eye at it. They'd be like, "That's cool. I love it."
Yeah, the trippy acoustic Drink Their Blood album. But I've told Jeff, and I'm only half joking when I tell him that like this is hopefully my retirement project. You know what I mean? Like, I could see myself into my 60s doing this shit with Jeff at like Moose Lodges, just acoustically. So I mean, I figured like as long as he'll have me, and as long as the guys want to keep this going, I'm gonna still be all for it. And I love like the Alice in Chains, like Jar of Flies EPs.
Exactly.
And, like Mastodon will every once in a while put out like a little slow, sappy EP. Like I love all that kind of stuff too.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's not something that we really considered, but that would be fun to explore for sure.
Hell yeah.
Nice. Well, we could talk to you guys all day. You guys are cool as shit. I mean, obviously, hopefully I'll see you guys on a stage soon, and we'll have you on the show again. One quick last question, real fast. When do we expect new shit from Drink Their Blood? A date. Give me a date, Jeff.
A year and a date and a month.
I think right now we're looking at doing our album release in March or April.
Okay.
And I think the goal is to kind of like Field of Dreams, book it and they'll come. So like we really don't have like a solid time frame, but it is getting like closer to completion. And with us not playing like as many shows, like cutting it down to like once a month, like that's kind of become like at least a discussed focus that we need to get on the ball a little more about, admittedly. But yeah, I think expect by March or April that album will be out, and hopefully we'll be putting it out, streaming everywhere, and maybe do a fun run of CDs or something if people still like those.
I will buy one.
All right. Well, hell yeah, fellas. I appreciate all your time, your energy, and anything. Is there anything, where could we find you guys? And is there anything last thing you guys want to say? Like I said, thanks so much for being on the Metal Maniacs podcast, man. I really appreciate it.
Yeah. Well, no, I mean, thanks for having us.
Thanks for having us.
Yeah, this was really cool to get to talk to you guys. It's nice to have people that want to like support everything, and we have musical histories that go way back. It's cool to see you doing this and thriving, and it's cool to see your new projects like kicking ass all over. Just like thanks a lot, and yeah, we'd love to do this again sometime.
Hell yeah, man.
Yeah, just one last time for my part. Absolutely love the album. Like I said, couldn't even sit down for it. Had to just throw the chair away. And I know, so I am extremely looking forward to what the Andrews are bringing on the next album. Like, it sounds like you guys have really great chemistry. I love what I'm hearing, and I think we'll be hearing from you guys for some years to come as long as you keep doing it. I think. I can't wait to get this interview out so people can be more exposed to you guys. I was just geeked on your music just as a fan outright. I was like, oh, cool. They're fucking sweet. I don't have to pretend. I can just sit here and tell them.
Keep an eye out on like Facebook and everything else, and just see what we're up to. Because with the way things are going, you never know when you're gonna show up, and there's just gonna be a new song. You never know.
Yeah, 2024. I can hold you guys to 2024, a new album.
Yeah, we'll go on record.
Yeah, I can say that.
Yep.
All right.
And then we really got to put it out. So,
and then some shows too. We'll be following you on the socials. We'll gas you guys up. I really enjoyed this interview. I'm appreciative to have as many of you guys on as we could.
Yeah, this was awesome. Thanks, guys.
For real.
Hell yeah, thanks so much. And I'll talk to you soon, Jeff. Nice meeting both of you, Andrews. I think I may have met you guys at one of the Iron Sharpens Drink Their Blood shows, maybe, but you know how that is. You're loading equipment in, you're trying to focus on what you're doing, and sometimes that's hard. And obviously Ben and Jeff, we go way back. So yeah, thanks a lot, man, and peace out to you guys. Much love. All right.
Yeah, cheers, guys.
Absolutely.
Have a good
You
one.
too.
Oh yeah, peace. Thanks.